Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here without Bob Stewart once again. That's right. This man is ditching me all over the place, people. If you see Bob Stewart, you grab him, you throw him in front of a computer, you say, sit down and record with Chad Hyams. No, Bob's busy doing an event today. I was prepared for this one. He didn't pop it on me last minute. Yeah, folks, I'm glad he's gone. I've said it before. Love the guy. Yeah, boy, when I get a great guest, I don't want Bob getting in the way of me asking the questions I want to ask, and he gets distracted with things in the backgrounds. And folks, there's something interesting in the background Bob's missing out on this call today that we'll get to. Before I bring our guest on, I want to remind you of all the podcasts we have in the Win, Make, Give network, because it's not just Win, Make, Give. Now, I'm not going to run you the whole list of them, yet I want you to visit winmakegive.com, where you can find all of our podcasts, from Clint Swindoll doing Tell Me Something Good, to me taking you through Achieve Your Apex, my best-selling book, chapter by chapter, to, well, so many others, folks. 15-Point Plan is one of my favorites that I got to do for so many years, and it's gone in a fantastic direction with our great new host. Check out winmakegive.com. All right, now you're back. Now you're here with me. I got my commercial out of the way without having to pay for commercial. It's awesome how it works. Yet you want to hear about connection. You want to hear about bringing companies together, how we are in the Win, Make, Give network. You want to hear about opportunities. You want to hear about a purpose. Then I've got the guest for you today. And I want to welcome Carol Cohn to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Carol, thanks for taking the time and joining me today.
Oh, I am thrilled to be on the show, and I love your energy. So let's see if I can match it.
Thank you very much. And it's not even caffeine induced. Okay. Carol, here's the thing. Our audience might not know you, yet they absolutely know your work, right? We can agree on that. And they'll be like, really? She's the woman behind that, and that? They'll know your work. They don't know you, though. And I don't read bios. You know that. You've listened to a bunch of our episodes, actually. So, Carol, tell everybody who you are and what you want them to know about you.
Well, thank you, Chad. I'm Carol Cohn, and I have found my personal purpose very early in my career, and that was linking companies and organizations and not-for-profits together for social impact and to also help the business or the not-for-profit grow. It was called many, many different things in the 80s when I started, and today it's called purpose. In the early days was called cause marketing. And so over the years, I have worked with, a who's who of organizations. But what's most important is the outcome. It's that for Avon, we work with them and created the Avon Breast Cancer Crusade that grew. And when in those days, in the 90s, you didn't talk about breasts. And God forbid there's a picture of a woman showing her breast and it's about breast cancer. Absolutely not. Well, we launched that with Avon. They had their 2 million Avon, associates, and it has become was a worldwide crusade for information, for awareness, for early detection. It raised over $1 billion. It was in over 50 countries. And the funniest thing is, once upon a time, I was asked to judge a Russian cause marketing competition. And thank God they were all translated, but they were all not very, very interesting. But then I came upon Avon and how Avon had adapted its approach in Russia. And there are certain things you can or can't do in terms of using the word breast and talking about doctors or whatever. It was fascinating, but they won hands down. So Avon is one. The Go Red for Women for American Heart, where when we started working with American Heart in 2003 and 4, they had nothing about women and heart disease. And women have very, very different symptoms when there's a heart attack and different ways that can contribute to heart disease. It was all about men and men in white coats. And there was their leader at the time, Cass Wheeler, he said, we have to lean into the passion of women. And so they hired us. And the funniest story is that at that time, we had only worked with companies. And we kept getting these emails from this woman, Kathy Rogers. And she said, would you please take us through your process? And I went, no, we don't do that. And then she sent another one. No, we don't do that. Then she started calling. We said, no, we didn't do that. Finally, she jumped on a plane, came to Boston, where I had my first Cone agency. And she was so compelling. We said, okay, we'll take this on. Well, we were so excited to create Go Red for Women, which has become almost a $1 billion initiative. It educates women. We have Wear Red Day in February. All the TV anchors go red, but it's saved money. It's raised money. It's raised money. It's saved lives. And that's so exciting. So initiatives like that, PNC Grow Up Great, where PNC has committed a $500 million to early childhood education. And, their CEO at the time, Jim Rohr, he wanted to really focus his money. And he said, but you go find something, Carol, you're the genius. And so we looked and looked, and banks have to contribute to their local communities. There's something called the the Community Reinvestment Act, CRA. And so we brought early childhood to him, and he went, huh? I don't know. Yes, I understand it. Because we gave them data. And this is what we do. We find that nugget that can connect with a company. And the data was children at 3 and 4 years old need to be socially, emotionally, and intellectually prepared for kindergarten. And when they do, they learn and they have much greater success in life. And there was research from Rutgers University that proved on a long-term basis how children with early childhood education, preschool, and now you're seeing today preschool, it's mandated, that's paid for by certain states. It's 100% universal preschool. And so children who have these wonderful experiences grow and excel. Children who don't, the amount of prison cells in this country that are predicated on the failed reading scores of third graders. And so we gave this data to PNC. It was an amazing moment in my career. And it was quiet. It was silence in the room. The CEO didn't say a word. His president didn't say a word. And we said, okay, that's the issue. And it has to be 5 years, $50 million with a big gulp. Oh my God. Silence. And the CEO said, nope. He didn't say no, but he said, no, not good enough. And PNC over the last 20 years, has donated $500 million. They have curriculum. They're working with Sesame Workshop, which was one of our ideas. And so it truly has impacted thousands and thousands and thousands of children, their families, that they're going to have a better start in life. So that's some of the work we did, and it's purpose. And purpose basically asks a company or even a not-for-profit to make it really crisp. What do you stand for uniquely? And it's really exciting. It's really exciting.
That's what I was going to ask you as you got into all this. And folks, you can hear the passion. And we're going to tell you about a new project that Carol's into in a little bit. So stay tuned for that. I want to dive right into this purpose, right? I mean, I can go into the dictionary. I don't know if they still have dictionaries. I can Google, right, and find out what purpose defines as. Mm-hmm. Carol, how do you, someone who has been in it for 40 plus years, how do you define purpose, not necessarily for a business, just for a person?
Well, it's what do you stand for? I mean, that's basically what a purpose is about. My purpose is to educate companies and individuals and emerging careerists and professionals. What do they stand for? And then how do they link that into their career so that they find alignment? And when you find alignment, like if your purpose is, I really want to help others be healthy. And actually, we're in the Olympics, or at least I don't know when it's going to air, but even post-Olympics, Gabby Thomas, she's a Harvard grad, and she is the world's fastest woman right now. And her purpose is to help underserved people have better health. And she's creating health clinics. And so she runs and she loves to run, but her personal purpose is helping others. And so she took that to helping establish, these health clinics. And so there's this, especially with Gen Z today, Gen Z doesn't want to just have a job. Right. And I always say to, clients, potential clients, do you think your employees wake up in the morning and go, wow, I want to make money for the CEO? How many people, unless they have a lot of stock options, say that? Very, very few, right?
Unless they're the CEO, sure. Yeah.
Well, the CEO wants to, but it's more so, wow, I want to go to work because at PNC, I get 40 hours of paid time off to help my children in my community. Wow. This is a bank that, yes, helps to protect your money and your investments and helps you to grow and gives you loans, but it also helps with the growth of our communities. And so that's how you have the link. And that's why purpose, again, for businesses, I say, it's an organization's reason for being beyond profits. and
Okay.
it's based in humanity. So it's more than making profit. It's what do you stand for? What's your North Star? How can you truly find your essence? I had a client once that said, because we took them, it was wonderful. It was a very large company, like $10 billion in 100 countries around the globe. They made food ingredients. 70% of the foods that you eat have their ingredients in it. It's called the Kerry Group. And when we were working with their CEO and their top communications person, they said, wow, this is a journey to the center of our soul. And I say that a lot to companies now because there's a process that we take them through, and it's a lot of analysis, and it's talking to the employees, having focus groups, one-on-ones, talking to customers and such. What does this company at its essence stand for? I'll give you a great example, Patagonia. Patagonia started as a little teeny tiny company, Avon. He loved the outdoors and he had crampons, and his crampons, which helped him to climb the mountains, he was worried about how that impacted the environment, the dirt, the soil, and such. Well, from that became the genesis of Patagonia. Patagonia exists. Yeah, they want to sell good products at a fair price,
Sure.
but they exist. Their purpose, we are in business to save planet Earth. That is their purpose. And they create new products. They help, for example, if you want to volunteer in your local community, they have something called Patagonia Action Works. And you just put in your zip code and you're going to find it's like a match.com for environmental action. It's beautiful. They allow their companies to do their employees to do lots of volunteering. And here's an amazing little fact. If they volunteer and they get involved in activism and somehow maybe they get thrown in jail, Patagonia will pay for their lawyers to get them out of jail because they were truly trying to help environmental actions. So Patagonia today is one of the foremost companies, but you don't have to be billions of dollars. You can
Sure.
be a small company. We work with $3, $4, $5 million not for profits who truly want to I'm going to raise money for something, but they want to do something bigger. They want to get more people involved in the movement that they're creating, like American Heart had the Go Red movement. So you don't have to be so big. One of our you can just give me a question and I'll talk forever. That our first client was the Rockport Shoe Company. And this was in 1983. And their CEO, Bruce Cates, he showed up at my office because we had done some work for Timberland. And he said, I want you to do what you did for Timberland, make them really famous, make me famous, but in a different way. I'm not looking for ads. I'm looking for something else, but I don't know what it is. Long story short, his shoes, which were Nike inner and then street shoe outer. So nobody had ever combined, wow, a shoe that was great for walking? Nobody had ever done that. Bruce did that. And we tried to promote him to, in traditional marketing, it didn't work. So we thought, what is the essence of those shoes? And they're great for walking. But nobody believed walking. There was no ritual. There was no books. There was no films. There were no movies. There were no influencers. And this is pre-internet days. And we did all of that. We had a guy who walked around the country and he talked to kids and he said, eat properly, don't smoke and walk. And then we did a book on him. Then he was finished when he walked 11,208 miles. We studied him as a human experiment at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. And then when he was finished, we had a proclamation from HHS, Health and Human Services. And then we created a walking institute. And then we created walking tests and programs. We got the country to walk for health and fitness. And walking at retail became a multi-billion-dollar category. But what we created together with Rockport, they renamed themselves Rockport, the Walking Shoe Company. And they basically brought this incredible new exercise to the whole country. They grew from 25 million to 250 million. That was only in 4 years. It was an amazing accelerant. And then Reebok bought them. And then we worked with Reebok on something else.
That's awesome. Okay, so I want to be a little cynical first.
Sure.
This is what I want to go with. You gave me the Patagonia story, and you right. This is what triggered this in my head, where the founder there really cared about the environment. He was concerned that they were messing the soil up while they were doing this climbing thing. Okay. Then I hear you tell me about PNC. They're a bank. I'm saying nothing about them good nor bad. They're a bank.
Right.
There isn't necessarily some connection to early childhood education, right? There's nothing that says money, early childhood. Okay. How many times does the CEO or the board
Mhm.
end up getting behind something like early childhood education because it's good for the company? And how many times is it that the owner actually says, or somebody says, this really matters to me, and this is how we're going to connect our company?
Well, there's a two-part answer to that. First of all, we cannot go out and sell to anybody that you need to do purpose. It doesn't work. My head would be bloodied by hitting it against the wall. The leadership of the organization has to believe in something that we call stakeholder-based management, meaning they're not just there to save money or to make money for their shareholders. They are there for all stakeholders. That's their employees. That's their customers. That's their communities and such. So, first of all, the senior leadership has to believe in that. Now,
Okay.
today, with the internet and everything exposed and everything transparent, and then Gen Z being very, very activist oriented and saying, no, I'm not going to wake up in the morning and make money for the man or the woman. I want that company to do something that touches my heart, that makes sense to me.
Yep.
So, more and more and more companies, when I started out doing this, Chad, here's my joke. I was 6 feet tall and now I'm 5 feet tall. And, there are times where I actually dropped to the floor when one of my clients, which were not the CEO, but they said, well, we have to take so and so to New York City because he's going to New York City that week and we have to launch our program. No, you're not ready. So I use the word authentic purpose a lot. And that's how I got to be 5 feet tall, but I'm not getting any shorter. So, but I would like to say about banks make their money from having communities that are successful and solid and growing. So
Sure.
PNC recognized now early childhood was something I call an emergent cause. It was not obvious. Even breast cancer in the 90s was an emergent cause.
Right.
Now today, working in the community, it's not new. You have to find a new way to do it. But to your point, it has to be led from the C-suite or it's disingenuous.
Okay, so let's talk to our listeners.
Yes.
Right. Many of them are entrepreneurs with small to medium sized companies. They're not running companies as big as PNC. I mean, maybe we do have a few listeners who are running companies that big. Yet we have people that are running big companies. They're just not that large.
Right.
We also have some people that are employees. They're stakeholders at a company. How do they find their purpose at a company? How do they implement their purpose? How do they go about doing stuff like you're doing, yet at their scale?
Well, first, I think they need to understand what is the company doing. Most companies today have at least 8 hours of paid time off, and they're volunteering, and they might be doing a cleanup, or they might be doing a walk for something, or whatever. They might actually be a little bit more advanced and have matching dollars. So if I go out, so there's something called dollars for doers. So if I get 10 of my buds and we go out and we do some volunteering, let's say we're stuffing backpacks for kids going back to school, so they have books and things like that. They might get some money. That's kind of a baseline. But truly, if you believe that the company has a special sauce, has a superhuman power, I would say go to HR or go to your employee resource group if you have one, or take 5 of you and go sit down with somebody in the C suite and say, what do we stand for? How do we recruit the best and the brightest? How do we truly give back? Now, you may get rebuffed, but then you might get a shining light in someone's eye. And they might go, well, tell me some more about this. How do I find the right thing to get behind? So I would say that leadership today is smarter than ever. And everyone wants the employee to bring their whole self to work.
Right.
And so if I can inspire my colleagues to do something, you're going to get a better engaged, better ideas, just a greater commitment. And who doesn't want a better employee workforce that's very excited about the business?
What about, Carol, when they're not employees, but they're independent contractors, right? There's a lot of businesses out there nowadays that are almost going around some of the rules in a smart way and saying, okay, I got a bunch of independent contractors, so I don't have to necessarily follow that. I don't have to have the HR or whatever that kind of stuff is. If I've got a world of independent contractors, and Bob and I say we're from a real estate background, that's a
Right.
world of independent contractors, but it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get independent contractors who aren't necessarily employees to buy
Right.
in, become part of this, get the level up of them, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I think certainly you at the center can stand for something and that you want to recruit the best possible contractors. So you need a magnet to stand for something. And I know you talk a lot about real estate. And real estate today, there's a lot of new models. The whole industry is being disrupted. And so, how can you? So, you might say, I don't know if you do this, but you might say, well, the percentage of your not profit, but it might be a percentage of your profit or the relationship you have financially with them, you might take a tiny little portion and put it towards something. For example, with a children's cause in your local community, there's so many local not-for-profits that need support. I always say that the local dry cleaner could truly, recycle your clothes. There's a whole thing about do a coat, coats for the winter for children and such, shoes, books, things like that. There are very simple things that you can do that touches people's souls. And I think real estate today is very, very powerful. And you're seeing, I have a great idea, and I want one of your listeners to do this. I've had this idea
Okay.
forever.
Let's do it. Let's lay it out there for somebody.
This is one of my big ideas, and I have lots of big ideas. Um, we see so many disasters now. We see fires, we see floods, we see tornadoes. And when
Yep.
these poor people have lost everything, when they finally got their insurance money and they're rebuilding, they don't have furniture. And I am one of those people. 10 years ago, I sold my house, I downsized, etc. I got that storage unit, and I have my favorite furniture in that storage unit. And I've been paying 10 years every month for that storage unit, like $300-400 a month. I wish we could find a trucking company that's going to backhaul empty, that when there is a tornado in Oklahoma, now it's a year later, it can't be right after, it has to be a year later when people are rebuilding, that they go, whatever you're going to call it, rebuilding everyone's homes. And they're coming to Wellington, Florida, where I live, and they say, hey, we're going to pick up from your storage unit. It's got to be in decent shape. And then we're going to truck this out to Oklahoma. We're going to work with some, organizations on the ground, and we're going to let people pick the new furniture that they need to rebuild their homes. There are so many people with friggin' storage units that they're paying God for money, and and it's not doing anything. So that's one idea I really wish. There's Love's truck stops that I learned about. I wish Love's would do it. So anybody listening from Love's, please do that. But anybody, come to my website, Carol Cohn on Purpose. Let's talk about it. Let's create it together. It's really, really needed.
Okay. Now the thing I'm here, right? That's from a ground up new operation, new organization, right? We're going to call it, furniture for you, whatever, and it's going to be.
For
But
good.
what I heard you say in there, even before you got onto that, was that we don't need to go create the organization.
Right.
There are enough charitable organizations in every community to be able to say, hey, I got to know what matters to me, not, I sell real estate, so I have to do something about a house. What matters to me is this. And our founder, Ben Kinney, the founder of Win, Make, Give, and so many other great things that Ben has done, he's always had a soft spot in his heart for a women's shelter, right? It's got nothing to necessarily do with him. He's a man, right? Yes, he's had experience in his life that he shares in his own stories, but he raises a lot of money. He food banks in his area. Yes, he had times in his life where he relied on the food bank. Folks, you can find something in your area that you can then support and tie into each and every year, each and every season. Jacqueline Smith does a coat drive every winter up in her area. I know a lot of our listeners do things like this. We're just helping those of you who aren't yet, or maybe want to take it to another level. Carol's got some great ideas that she's talking about when it comes to purpose. So Carol, give me a list of like 3 questions, 2 questions, maybe even just 1 question, right? That I need to ask myself to really get to that authentic purpose, because you keep saying you have to stand for something. And
Right.
I think that's too hard a question to just say, what is it you stand for? I think it was Alexander Hamilton or somebody that said, if you don't stand for something, you fall for everything.
Right.
I hope I got the quote right. But what are some questions I can ask myself to truly then figure out what I stand for?
Well, first of all, look at your business. What are your core competencies?
Okay.
So in real estate, you're selling someone, if we look at residential, you're selling someone a home, you're selling someone a hearth, you're selling someone love, family, things like that. So just start unpacking what is the core of your business. That's the first thing to do. Then ideally you want to say what gives you passion. The best thing is you take the core competency of your business, you take the cross like a Venn diagram. You take what are you passionate about, and then what's the need in your community? What's the need with your constituencies? And then in the middle, that's of the Venn diagram, that's what you can do. And part of it is just your personal commitment. And it doesn't have to be money, by the way. It can be in kind, it can be your skilled volunteerism. So there are many ways to help out. And when you do it and you start really getting your hands on, it just becomes like, oh my God, I can't stop doing this. It's so delicious. And I want to do more and more of it.
Folks, Venn diagrams, for those of you who don't know them by name, you know them. They're the circles that then overlap. So you get the blue circle and the red circle, they overlap. And then there's the purple area. Think about the Olympic rings, since the Olympics are occurring while we're talking. That's like a giant Venn diagram almost, right? And it's finding that area where these circles all overlap to help you find what's that center spot that says, this is what matters to me. This is what my business's core competencies are. This is what my community needs. Boom, right in the middle. Here's what I need to be doing.
And let me, if I can build off of that, because you do have a lot of your listeners in real estate. We're working on a current project called the Greatest American Cleanup.
You're getting to it before I even got you set up for it. All right, go for it.
There's a segue here. So it's the Greatest American Cleanup that is going from Keep America Beautiful. And Keep America Beautiful is a smaller not-for-profit, but they're truly about helping to clean up our communities, to green up our communities, to help with murals, to help with tree planting, things like that. Well, on July 4, 2026, we are all going to have most incredible parties because that's the 250th birthday of the Declaration of Independence of our country. And so Keep America Beautiful has this gigantic 2-year journey to work with the tiniest little organizations, to work with you. If you're a real estate firm, you want your communities to be beautiful. And what you can do is you can work with a homeowner and say, this is a cleanup kit. I'm giving you a cleanup kit so that you might clean up your neighborhood. And I will tell you that cleanups are so satisfying because it's like vacuuming. I love to vacuum my rugs because you instantly get it clean. Well, a cleanup is the same thing. You get the plastic bag, you get the picker, you have your gloves, and you go out with your neighbors, you clean up, and everything makes you feel better. And a clean neighborhood is a safer neighborhood, is a more joyous neighborhood and such. So I would say any realtor, go to Keep America Beautiful, the Greatest American Cleanup. Find out how you can participate for your customers or for your brand. There are so many ways to get engaged. We're actually going to have some contests. Like we're looking for a sponsor to create the newest mascot for the Greatest American Cleanup. What does that? And we want kids to actually create it. And so what's the color? What's the look? What's the feel, et cetera? What does this mascot say? That's only one of the things we're going to do. We're going to have awards for the cleanest communities. So communities of distinction that people are going to vote on. There's so many wonderful things because we have to clean up. They've made a commitment to clean up 25 billion with the B, 25 billion pieces of trash, working with 25,000 communities. And there are already groups, there's affiliates of Keep America Beautiful in over 750 communities around the country that you can work with. So it's really exciting. It's hands-on, it's greening, it's cleaning, it's beautifying. I love the idea, and they're a great organization.
All right. So before I get to a question I want to ask you, in honor of Bob, who's not here today, Bob, we love you. In honor of Bob, who's not here today, he would have asked about whatever that is on the bookcase behind you. So where Carol is, she's got, I want to guess they're Aflac ducks.
They are.
Okay. So why are there 3 Aflac ducks sitting on your bookshelf?
Thank you for that. Well, that is my special Aflac duck. And my special Aflac duck was a solution to an interesting problem Aflac had. And we knew the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, came to us and said, look, we have the big duck, Aflac, and everybody knows the Aflac duck. He's funny, but he didn't do more than be funny, but, helped to build the brand a lot.
Yep.
Then they were donating $125 million to pediatric cancer, but they're a Southern company and they're very humble. Nobody knew about it. So the CMO said, Carol, you're brilliant. You've worked with us in the past. Fix it. Come up with an idea. Well, my superpower, and this is also for your listeners, what is your superpower? That also helps you in any of your businesses or in life. My superpower is connection making. So I'm having lunch with a friend, and the friend says, "Hey, Carol, what are you doing?" Now, my friend makes social robots for kids with disease. His name is Aaron Horowitz. He's wonderful. So he said, "What are you doing?" "Well, we're pitching. Oh, we're going to close Aflac." In 1 second, boom, over my head, there was a flash of light where a social robot and a big Aflac duck collided. And in my brain, I turned to my friend Aaron and I said, "We're going to create a social robot for kids with cancer." And we did. And that's what you see behind me. But we took a year studying what do children go through. They go through 1,000 days of really pain and suffering and separation when they're going through pediatric cancer. The good news is about 80% of children now have better results. They don't die from pediatric cancer. They have great outcomes. And so, but what do they go through? And so we studied it. Then we built the duck. And one of the things the kids said, we want a duck with a short neck. We want a duck that purrs. Okay, ducks don't purr, but hello. So these ducks also, they have 3 motors, they have patents pending, they have removable skin because the kids might get sick if they're playing with them. They also have emojis on their chest, and it helps the child to give their emotion to perhaps an attendant or a nurse when they're going to have their chemo. And we have in a video, this is a video that'll make you cry, which is that there's a little boy named Eli, and he's about to have his port accessed to get his treatment. And he screams, he goes, "Ah!" And then we show him the duck, and we say, "Look, Eli, Ducky's got one." And then Eli turns to the camera and he says, "Ducky, can I try?" And his entire mood from fear and suffering to joy was created by that little duck. And that duck, we introduced him at the Consumer Electronics Show, and they have awards. And we entered the award, Technology for a Better World. I didn't think we ever had a chance to win it. We won it out of 250 entries. And this duck has gone everywhere. The whole country knows him. We've donated. They donate the duck for free. The duck costs about $250. They donate him to any hospital that has a pediatric cancer program, or also now parents can directly go to My Special Aflac Duck at Aflac, and they can actually order one for their child. So it's amazing. It's one of, I think, the most amazing things I ever created in my life. And it truly helps children. And so you have a win for Aflac, you have a win for the children, a win for the families. And what could be better in doing work and in life?
Wow. I'm glad I asked about the ducks that were sitting there on the shelf for some reason
Thank you.
saying, ask about me. All right. So, Carol, I don't care if you reiterate something you've already said. I don't care if you bring something new about protecting our brand, about this authentic purposing, about whatever it is. If I asked you one last question, what's the thing you want to talk about to wrap this episode up?
Well, I'm going to make I want to ask anybody who's listening, who's thought about advancing their purpose to impact stakeholders, that they should reach out to me. I've been called the Purpose Queen by the BBC, the Purpose Godmother, but I've also been called by young people the Purpose Badass. This is amazing work. I don't retire because there's the next challenge in front of me and in front of our team. And we want to continue to do great work. I mean, we work with everything from small not-for-profits to medium-sized companies and large companies. And it's truly God's work. It's intellectually great. And I say that if we take you through this process and you adopt what's an authentic, aligned purpose for your organization, you will be truly transformed.
Wow. Who doesn't want that, right? Carol, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, follow you, connect with you after the podcast if they're like, I want to talk to this lady about more?
Well, thank you. It's Carol Cohn at carolcohnonpurpose.com. We also have a podcast, if I can mention it. It's Purpose
Sure.
360. And we have lots of guests on the show that talk about their journeys. And we also have a newsletter called Purposeful Connections. So I'm also a teacher at heart. And when I started doing the work in 83, nobody believed that this was business strategy, that this was real. They thought it was philanthropy. This is about building business. This is about making connections. And I continue to teach. I love to give great speech. I love to do podcasts. And so if you're of an organization and you say, hey, let's continue to proselytize about why this is about business strategy that also helps people feel incredibly great and have a win-win in business and in life, I'm your girl.
All right, folks, that's Carol Cohn. No E at the end of Carol, just Carol with a C. Cone like is an ice cream. carolcohn. It's carolcohnonpurpose.com is the website. You can email her at carolcohnonpurpose.com. Folks, purpose is everything. Our purpose for Win Make Give is to help you with your health, wealth, leadership, and leaving a legacy. That's what every episode we bring you is about over here at Win Make Give. We've always said it. It's never changed. It never will. We found our purpose early, and we drive our purpose to help you. Who are you helping? Think about that for a second. Maybe you want to share this episode with them. Maybe you want to reach out and have a coffee with them. Maybe you want to find out if you can help in other ways in your community and with your business after hearing this message from Carol. So check that out. Join us in our Facebook group. Check out the other podcasts in the Win Make Give podcast network. And until our next episode, and as always, do good.